Matthew here from MiniWargaming.com, and this is another Sit and Talk. Now, I just did my last one on Tuesday, and today is Saturday. I actually came in today rather than yesterday because we're doing some Dreadball League battle reports this afternoon. And so I thought I'd do my Sit and Talk today as well. But it probably won't be posted till late Saturday, but either way, it's a Sit and Talk. But since I just did one 4 days ago, there's not as many comments. So I've only got 4 pages, so it probably won't take as long to do the Sit and Talk. Anyway, of course, couple things. If you're new to the Sit and Talk, there's always a chance that the topic of religion can come up. So if you're easily offended by that, please do not watch this video or any other videos in the Sit and Talk series. Because the Sit and Talk is designed that you can just ask me whatever questions you want, and whatever comes up, we talk about it. Of course, it's usually wargaming related, or maybe business related, or something along those lines, but other subjects do come up. And if you want your comment or question addressed, and pretty much if you do post one, you will get it addressed. It's been a long time since I've had so many comments that I can't get them addressed in the hour-long show, if this one actually turns out to be an hour long. But if you do want to get your comment or question addressed, then you need to make sure that you post it on the Mini Wargaming site, not here on YouTube. And so there's actually going to be a link in the video description here on YouTube. If you are watching this on YouTube, if you're watching this on the Mini Wargaming site, then you're already there, post your comment there. Sorry about that cut there. I heard somebody in the background and I was like, who else could be here? And it's Chris. Anyways, so what was I saying? Oh yeah, if you want your question answered, post it in Mini Wargaming, we're good to go. So I'm just going to go through the questions and comments that are here. And yeah, that's it. So, Demon Prince yourself, I look forward to your Tyranids Codex review. Although from your playing Necrons more comment, I get the feeling your opinions will not be far from mine. Well, we've put up our initial review. And just from our initial impressions of not having played it, but just having read through it. And of course, it was more negative than positive. But now I've actually played a couple games with them, and we'll see. The jury's still out. I want to play a bunch of games before I give a thorough review on the new Tyranids. I want to try a lot of different units that they now offer. I want to use their psychic powers enough to see just how often they turn out to be actually useful, that kind of stuff. And so we played 2 games this week, which you'll see next week, and I've already got 2 more games scheduled for next week, actually with Codex Dan, Mini Wargamer Dan, or ex-Mini Wargamer Dan. So it'll be Tyranids versus Orcs, so it'll be interesting there. So yeah, so we'll see. We'll see. The jury's still out, I'll just say that much. Ishiswas, yes, the Tyranid situation is a bit of a letdown initially, but as you say, until you play it a few times, you can't get a real feel for the army. The thing that really bothers me is that they remove things. Now, I've heard rumors that they might add some of that stuff back in their digital releases, but that's not good either. Like, you shouldn't take stuff out so that you can add it in on a second release. You already pay way too much for the codexes. They're too expensive. They really, really are too expensive. I know they're hardcover and full color, but I don't want them to be hardcover and full color. They don't need to be. Like, they're the rules. The rules shouldn't be what cost you a lot of money, and yet they do. And so then to force me to have to buy digital things, which most people, or a lot of people, won't even have the ability to get, because they're not like PDF downloads. They're only available like on iPad or iBooks and stuff. It's just, that's not good. No, that's not how you do it. You give everybody what was at least expected from the old codex with a couple new units or whatever, and balancing things, if there's such a thing with 40K. And then your digital releases, if there are any, should give you new ways to play them, or maybe, I don't know, they should, it's just, it puts a bad taste in your mouth when, like, it's one thing, like I know some people complain about computer games doing that, like when StarCraft 2 announced that they were going to be a trilogy, I know there's some people complaining saying, oh I see, they're just going to make 3 games that should have been 1. But that's not the same, because each of those games has the content of a full game, and it doesn't require the previous game in order to play. And so, or when games come out with expansions or downloadable content, there's usually controversy around that, like, oh, they should have included this. And most of the time, it's just like, no, they've given you a full game, and then they add on stuff, because that's how they monetize. Because not everybody can do a monthly MMORPG to continually get income from that same game. And so the other way that you do it is that you release the game, and then you release expansions and DLC, that kind of stuff, to make extra revenue from it. So I get that, but you don't take the codex that was there and release a new one and remove stuff that was being used, and maybe to put it back in. I'm not even sure if they're going to. So that's kind of what's really ticked me off, I guess. So Vicious Wasp continues. Several things that I have been so far in the Codex that are actually good. Mawlok, number 1. Mawlok, with a bit of luck, gets to hit stuff twice, strength 6, AP 2, and gets placed by the opponent and goes back into reserve, ready to do the same thing. Of course, there's a 1 in 6 chance he will kill himself, but hey. I actually used the Mawlok to interesting effect. So I do agree, I think the Mawlok is actually better than he used to be. Once I realized that it's only a 1 out of 6 chance that something really bad happens to him. Spore Mines, they can actually charge now, and they can hit really hard for small points cost. I agree that they're worth it because of their small points cost, but the charging is not that big a deal. Because you have to do a multi-charge, not multi-charge as in they charge multiple things, but that somebody else charges the unit first, or they charge it. Like in one of the previous games, because of Overwatch, basically, is the short story. Because they're all toughness 1, so Overwatch will just destroy them. Especially if there's 1 flamer in there, it's just, they're all gone. So in one of the games that I did, I actually had the Spore Mines charge first to eat the Overwatch shots because there was another more important unit that I wanted to charge in. So I found them useful because they could distract and they could soak up some Overwatch shots. And they were a threat if they weren't dealt with. Number 3, Carnifexes. Yeah, Carnifexes are really good now. And Flyrants are now better for lower cost. I wouldn't say they're better because they lost access to Biomancy, which actually was what made them really good. Like an iron-armed Hive Tyrant flying around the board was just awesome, or if you had Endurance or something. They're now Psychic level 2, which is nice, but the Psychic powers they have access to aren't as good. So you almost need to cast 2 of them just to make up for the fact that that you lost the good ones. And it's random. I just don't like that. I don't like choosing random Psychic powers because then you can't build it. Like for example, if I build a Flyrant with 2 Twin Link Devours, and then I roll a Warp Blast, it's like, I don't want Warp Blast because I can only shoot 2 weapons. And all of a sudden, I either have to forfeit shooting 6 Strength 6 shots that are Twin Linked in order to fire the Warp Blast, or I have to forfeit the Warp Blast. And so it's always, there's something that I'm paying. Whereas if I know that I'm going to get Warp Blast and I can build my monster to have only 1 shooting attack, or maybe none. Maybe he's a close combat and he uses Warp Blast to just soften up whatever he's doing first. So, but that's a more general 40k problem. There is more, and of course there are plenty of bad points. Why, Trivergon, why? But we will adapt. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Like I said, the jury's still out. I was very disappointed at first, but now I've kind of seen it as a challenge to kind of find out what are all the good stuff for this codex. So, Bardor. Hey Matt, what has Dave been up to recently? It seems like we haven't seen much of him recently. Well, we were off for 2 weeks, and then he was off for another week on top of that. So he was off for 3 weeks. So obviously we won't have seen much there. But he is back and starting to work on stuff. Like he just did battle reports this week, so you'll see some of that. Miso, Matt, will you be going to any of the Warmachine tournaments with Owen this year? Not planning on it. I read Mistborn and it is very good. Have you seen Brandon Sanderson's YouTube video classes on writing? Nope, I haven't. They're very interesting. Any chance of a mini wargaming book club this year? Probably not. Not that I'm laughing at the idea, but just I know I'm saying no to a lot of your questions. Would suggest Fire Upon the Deep by Werner Vinge. Stupendously awesome. The author coined the phrase singularity with reference to AI. What was the last book you read anyway? Fire Upon the Deep. A Fire Upon the Deep. I'll have to check that. Check that out. What was the last book I read? I just reread the Ender Games series, like including all the other ones that come after it, like Xenocide, Children of the Mind. What was the second one? Oh, I'm drawing a blank. Speaker for the Dead. Speaker for the Dead, Xenocide, and I haven't finished Children of the Mind yet, but so I've just been rereading those, and that's been really good. TG Toto Sean. Hey Mad Mini Wargaming team, I've watched your videos on YouTube for a while now, and I really like them. Thank you. So I thought I'd make an account, as you can see. I like all the other mini wargames you've been playing, and I was thinking of one I could play with my family. It didn't require a big table. I have a 6-foot by 4-foot table, but my family would rather play upstairs instead of the garage. So I'd like to know what game you suggest, and thanks for everything. I love your videos. Well, if it's your family, as in like little kids and all that kind of stuff, then miniature wargames might be a little too much. If it's all older kids, then Star Wars, the X-Wing miniatures game, that one is good on a smaller table. It only requires 3 feet by 3 feet, or you can actually do whatever you want with that. So you can actually play it on your kitchen table. Dreadball is just a self-contained one, and it's kind of fun. What other self-contained ones are there? Most of them require larger tables though. Infinity is a 4x4 at least. So is Warmachine. So it's really those smaller, more board game-esque types of games like X-Wing and Dreadball, and then of course lots of board games too. Apocryphal lore. Hi Matt, Infinity question for you. Did you choose the armies that you play for the Batreps, or are these armies donated by Corvus Belli? I did not choose them because I didn't know anything about it. When we first started talking, he's like, well, what armies do you want? And I'm like, give me a couple of the popular ones because you should cover the popular ones at least. If they weren't your choice, would you have chosen another faction? I've enjoyed the Pan-O faction. The Aleph one, it was fun to be overpowered, but other than that, I really need to expand on that army before I know if I would want more. I would definitely, I think if I had chosen one now, knowing what I know now, I probably would have chosen a combined army just because I like the bad guy armies. And combined kind of remind me of the Tyranids. I know they're not anything like the Tyranids, but it's just more just reminding me of why I play the Tyranids, that kind of thing. Follow-up question. Because the style of Infinity lends itself to playing a very small segment of the models available in a faction for any one game, for those who don't know Infinity, the largest tournament games use about 10 miniatures. Each faction has a range of about 50. Do you think you would prefer collecting factions in depth, having every miniature from a faction, to have flexibility and less creation, or collecting 300-point armies from different factions and sectorials, being selective about which units to bring to each army? I kind of like a combination of both. Like right now, my Conte Cimento, I think I have about 500 points of a Conte Cimento, and I wouldn't mind a little bit more, just because I like the idea of playing different things. You've probably seen this in my 40k battle reports. Like for example, I want to try an army that is just tons of regulars, but I've only got like 5 or 6 of them. Actually 5, I think. I'd like an army that would be a lot of drop troops, but I've only got access to a couple of them. I'd like an army that had more remotes, but I've only got one of those, like that kind of stuff. So yeah, there's more I'd like to collect for that, and just to kind of see how that goes. But I definitely like to do. I'm a collector, so I like to do both. I like to go in depth into an army, and also collect other armies. For me, the sectorials are the way to go. It's because link teams are so awesome. Follow-up to the follow-up question. Speaking of the possible distinction between player and presenter, are there games that you don't enjoy that you feel you should do Batreps for to service your market? That I don't enjoy? Well, we cover all the games I think we really need to. Like if we're gonna like rank them in terms of which ones really need to be covered, it's 40k is at the top for sure. And then Warmachine, I think we need to cover more. We ran the Warmachine League. We need to run another one, but we're working on that. Fantasy's somewhere in there, but it's lost a lot of popularity, so it's not as important to cover on a regular basis, although obviously fantasy players would say otherwise, but everybody wants their games covered, of course. Infinity, regularly, but no, there's tons of smaller games, like tons of them, just tons and tons and tons of them. And so it's just impossible for us to be able to cover them. I'm happy with how it's going so far this year. I would like to get more regular Warmachine coverage, and then maybe regular fantasy coverage as well. Do you ever think Garblig, Yakadu, Fizz, Bodswig, Icky, Woodalu, Wurgle? I don't want to play another game of this, sigh, but it's what the people want. Not usually, no. There's some games I enjoy more than others, and like I said before, if I wasn't in this business, there would be some games I probably wouldn't play as much. For example, with 40k, I probably would have stopped playing it a while ago, just because I've been enjoying dabbling into other games like Infinity and Warmachine. Like I probably play Warmachine more. It's more that I can only do so many battle reports, and so I need to cover the ones that I can cover. Like Infinity is important for me to be covering right now. Maybe eventually I'll get other people in on that, but not yet because they're too busy covering our core games like 40k. I'd say 40k is my least favorite right now. I was hoping the Tyranid Codex was going to rejuvenate that, and it has a small amount, but it's probably my least favorite. And my most favorite right now being usually Infinity. Infinity has its ups and downs, but I think Infinity is my favorite right now, I think out of all of them. When Star Wars X-Wing came out, that was my favorite, and then I played it a ton, and by the end of it I was like, okay, I'm getting bored of this. There's only so much you can do. And so, yeah. Follow-up to the follow-up to the follow-up question, is Papa Surf still making train videos? No, he's not working for us. I quite enjoyed his discussions on train history, blah, 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 follow-up, blah, blah, blah. Have you ever considered doing an industry news bit, maybe once a month or something, just covering news releases? We made a decision quite a while ago not to be a news media company. Not that it wouldn't be good, but we wouldn't be able to do a good job on it unless we've really focused on it. And that's not what we focus on. Beasts of War focuses on that. If you look at it, they don't really do battle reports. Like, you do see some. They've been doing more recently with Flames of War and some Dreadball, that kind of stuff. But they pour a lot of their attention into discussing all sorts of stuff, and that's good. That's a good thing, by the way. And they just cover news. They go to conventions. They talk about Kickstarters, and they advertise all sorts of stuff, and so that's great. But that's not what we focus on. We're more about learning the game more in depth, such as battle reports. And if we had time, if I were to expand, I would expand it to Tactica and more how to play videos and all of that. But right now, our meat and potatoes are battle reports. That's really what we're all about. So it would take a lot of extra resources to do the news thing properly. And so that's why we've kind of decided right now not to do that. That could be an extension of what we do in the future if we grow enough, but not right now. All right, Mickey Levy. Hi Matt, I've asked that before what you thought of Infinity Fluff, but at the time you hadn't really read or gotten into it yet. So, same question, what do you think of it? Still haven't really read. I haven't had much time beyond just learning the rules and scenarios and stuff, so sorry. We just played one of the Dire Foes mission number 1, and even that one, like, it comes with like 3 pages of fluff, and I didn't have a chance to read it, so we just played the game, and I wasn't quite sure what the fluff was behind it. Dual Buster. Hey Matt, greetings from the Netherlands. Greetings. Last year, I started doing 40k again, which I stopped doing about a decade ago. Your Batreps are the main reason I started doing it. Yes, that is a good thing. Although rebuilding slowly from scratch, I am doing the same army I did before I stopped, the Ultramarines, simply because I like their fluff. I often hear people complain about seeing this particular army too often, possibly also because the Codex seems to revolve a lot around them. However, the armies you guys play against rarely include the Blue Helmets, or even use Ultramarine doctrines for that matter. Do you guys actually see a lot of Ultramarine and Space Marines armies being used? No, actually. Even when we go to like Apocalypticon, there's only usually one Ultramarines player. There's other Space Marine players. It's more Imperial Guard on the good side. So no, I don't actually see a lot of Ultramarines. So, Kiefer J0415, 1,000 point Necron list. Thinking of starting one up. Any ideas? 1,000 points. You need an Overlord. You need 2 units of warriors in Ghost Arcs. You need an Annihilation Barge. Okay, close. And if you want to expand that, you expand it with like a group of Wraiths, or like a couple Necron Lords, although that's not the best thing at that point. Maybe another Annihilation Barge. Yeah, something like that. That's a good start. Thermo. Hi Matt. Once again, Happy New Year, and thanks for answering my question regarding getting started with Infinity. You're welcome. When I get a chance, I think I'll give Ariadna a go with the whole Caledonian theme. Any experience with these guys yet? I played Ariadna a while back, and I don't remember, so no, not much experience with them. That being said, I've got Hordes and Batman Miniatures games to try out yet, and have only had a few games of 40k and X-Wing. Gotta love the Fantasy Flight rules set. Fun, easy to learn, and play for all. But of course, I am a hobby strategy battle gamer, and I'm pleased to pass on that since we last spoke. Our channel has exploded, closing in on 600 subscribers and nearly 45,000 views just in the last couple of months of starting. Good job. 117 videos, over 1 video a day. Sounds like shameless promo. But if you ever get a chance to cast an eye over our channel and some of our latest battle reports, tutorials, rules, change videos, etc., I'd welcome your critique, since you motivated me to give The Hobbit the kind of coverage you give other wargames. My 2 cents, but your new battle report style that you have personally kind of been doing, and your X-Wing and Infinity Batreps is very watchable, whereas your voiceover style doesn't work for me personally. My question, there have been various editions of Warhammer 40k and presumably other systems too. Which changes have you really enjoyed, and which things do you miss from various editions? 40k, when it did its 6th edition, I like the changes. The one thing I don't like are the challenges. I think they're silly, but that's because I play Tyranids and watching... Thankfully, Turvagons are no longer characters, but watching a Turvagon charge a group of bikes and have the ability to destroy them all, but then have his sergeant challenge the Turvagon, who has to accept. It's a Turvagon. Why would he accept a challenge? It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. So the Turvagon only kills him, and then the rest of them have hit and run because they've taken the one doctrine. and they all leave, and then a Turbigon dies from shooting attacks. Like, it was frustrating. I'm like, that doesn't make any sense whatsoever. This isn't fantasy. Fantasy, it makes sense. Every army, there's some sort of reason they could have challenges, but in 40k it didn't make sense. Other than that, I liked all the changes. I liked all the psychic stuff added in, even if it is all random. But that seems to be the way Games Workshop seems to work their games. It focuses more on randomness rather than trying to balance it, and the randomness, in a sense, kind of tries to balance it because you don't know what you're going to get. So, but it can really throw it off. So, whereas other games, I haven't really seen them go through a lot of editions. Warmachine, we started Warmachine before it hit the second edition or third edition it's in right now, whatever it is. But no, not very much. And Infinity, of course, I came in just recently. So I actually haven't been through a lot of edition changes. 40k was the most. I went from 4th to 5th to 6th. And Warhammer have been through one edition change. All that's rumors that there's another one this year. And the change in fantasy was fine. I didn't have any really issues with it. It actually fixed a lot of problems with my Tomb King's army, so that, I was happy for that. So yeah, so for the most part, it's more codex changes that really throw off things if they're not done right. But yeah. JG Punnage, what do you think of Strength D in normal 40k now? I think it's, if you play with the right kind of people, tournament play, see, you have to understand, I don't take 40k tournament play seriously anymore. I haven't for a long time. If you're trying to look at, is this balanced in tournament, I just laugh and say, don't go to tournaments expecting any level of balance. You can go for fun, but don't go for any level of balance. Because it's just cheese versus cheese versus cheese, and if you don't bring the cheese, you're going to die. So Strength D in normal 40k is fine. It's perfectly fine. As long as you're playing friendly games and both opponents kind of have an idea of what's going on. It's not like they show up and you show up your thing with the Strength D and they have nothing to handle it. That's just dumb, and why are you playing this game if that's the way it's going to be done? So I think it's fine. Do you consider the Harridan and Biotitan for the Lord of War slot in normal 40k games now? Both are quite good. We don't do the Lords of War stuff unless we specifically say we're going to play Escalation. And we did a couple battle reports for that. So no, I don't consider them for normal 40k games. Can Tyranids do anything in Apocalypse now, or did this codex hurt them in larger games? I'm sure they're still fine in Apocalypse. Depends on the data sheets and stuff they have access to. And how can Nids beat Tau? They have Twin Link BS2 Monster Hunter Overwatch with like 50 non-overheating plasma guns. It'll be tough, but I don't think they'll be unbeatable. I think it'll just, we're going to have to use our imagination. For example, Molochs will be good because there's nothing you can do to stop it from popping up and causing problems. I still think, Venomthropes are going to be huge. They're way better now, way better. And I thought they were worse, but they're way, way better. Because now they give Shrouded rather than just a 5+ cover, and oh, that's just awesome, as you're going to see in the battle report that's going to be coming out. So I would say Venomthropes to really grant the cover you need, Hiveguard and Trinifexes, and actually Carnifexes, just bring lots of Carnifexes and make sure the Venomthropes stay nearby, and then you'll be fine. That's really what it comes down to. And then it'll just come down to just tactics, obviously. Howlin' Wolf 1337 on the Nid Codex. The loss of my set Explorer is due to Chapter House having a model and GW not having one. If GW made one, Chapter House could sue GW for it looking like theirs. I know that was a fun lawsuit. Also, Biomancy is so broken that no one should have it, and the current powers seem pretty okay. See, Biomancy, I agree with you, it's powerful, but it's what allowed the Tyranids to be able to overcome a lot of their weaknesses. Such as lacking Eternal Warrior or lacking the Feel No Pain that they really needed, that kind of stuff. So I found that Biomancy did not break the Tyranids, but actually balanced them. So the loss of it, the new powers are okay. We'll see. But yeah, what are you going to do? Moloch, Doom, and Fex is kind of sad. No, Moloch is awesome now, and Carnifexes are really good. So yeah, so we'll see. We'll see how it works out. Sargar, hey Matt, I know the lack of Warmachine content was covered, but 3 weeks were mentioned, and at this point it has actually been 2 months since the last Warmachine bat rep. Having pre-subscribed primarily for this content, that was a letdown. In addition, the 24-episode-long Warmachine League ended with no conclusion. Oh, they didn't put up I thought they had put up the last video. I'll have to get on them for that. No winner announced, no summary, no final thoughts in the league or similar. Having followed something for 24 episodes and not having it end properly is a poor experience. It's good feedback. Thank you for letting me know that. I don't know why I missed that. I understand that you can't be everything for everyone all the time, but I think it's feedback you'd want to hear. I agree. Kurt86, Matt, I really liked watching the review of the Nids Codex with you and Jay. Haven't really seen any content at all with you both in it. It seems he can actually be serious, which I don't believe at all. This is what would make Sit and Talks better, but we can learn about the other staff there if they do it too. Yeah, Sit and Talks is just, it's just the way the show works. It's just going to be me, just because it needs to be whenever I can do it. And everybody's so busy making their videos. It's actually hard to coordinate everything to make it all work. So, Big Gaz J. Hi Matt, I know everyone is screaming blue murder about losing the Doom from the new NID Codex, but I could see GW bringing it back on as a Lord of War. I doubt it. I think we've seen the last of the Doom. I saw your reply to the whole idea of Kickstarter and crowdfunding schemes. Was wondering if you saw what happened with the 25th anniversary edition of Hero Quest that went up just before Christmas. People pledged over $500,000, and it was later taken off for breach of IP. I didn't see that. That sucks. Being the game that got me into this hobby back when I was a kid, I was very interested in it, and later to see it has popped up on another website, even though they haven't solved the problem, was disappointing. I know a lot of these things have worked, but it isn't just there a big chance to have scammers hit that market. I guess there's always a chance. It's worth it. It has more good points than it has for those few bad points. So I would say no. I wouldn't worry about that. Georgia Josh, hey Matt, going back to the second Hobbit movie, the part where one of the dwarves washes up on land in a barrel, then punches his arms and legs out and starts spinning around. He reminded me so much of a Kill-A-Can for 40k. I freaked out a little when I saw it. And that was one of those moments where I was like, really? I know this is not supposed to be as serious, but really? It's just a little much. Emilia87, hey Matt, I've been watching Mini Wargaming for about 4 years now. You guys are the reason I got into 40k back then. Awesome. I play Orcs, but started off with a few Tyranid models, and with the new Codex, I just recently got the new Tyranids form set to start a new NID army despite the sad Codex. What's your favorite HQ in the new book? Keep up the good work. I haven't really tried a lot of them yet. My Hive Tyrant's probably the favorite. I tried the Death Leaper and the other one, and it was fine. So I'd say Hive Tyrant for now. Fabian! The newest Bug Codex is weak for the same reason the Chaos Space Marine Codex was. GW wants to promote the Space Marines, aka the good guys, to be the best. As such, we get weaker Xenon books, but the obvious exception of Tau and Eldar, both of which are as broken as Grey Knights. Dare we wish for a balanced game from GW ever? I think not. I don't think that they unbalance a book to try to sell Space Marines. I think they just suck at making balanced books. That's really what it comes down to. I'll say that plainly. They suck at making a balanced game. They have been doing this for so long that I think they still have their old mindset of this is the only game that people need to play, and so we just make it however we want, and they focus on throwing in new powerful things to try to make people happy and all of that. And it's just, I just think whoever their game designers are just don't really know how to make a good game. And that's all it is. These are just people. People can make mistakes, and these ones make lots. The models they make are fantastic. Their company is weird, and I don't know how it's going to be interesting to see what happens to it over the next 5 or 10 years. But yeah, they've never been good at making a balanced game. Never. Ever since I started playing 40k, they've never been good. Fantasy is the same thing. Never been good. Lord of the Rings even had it. Lord of the Rings was a little more balanced because it's simpler, but even it lacked serious balance. It was too easy to make those cheese lists that were impossible to stop. So that's what I think. I just think that they removed models because of the whole chapter house thing, and then they nerfed things that they didn't need to nerf, like changing the ballistic skill from 4 to 3 on a Hive Guard. Why did they do that? They increased its points cost by 5. Like, who did the math to see that a ballistic skill of 3 instead of 4 was going to balance? Like, how do you even? It just didn't make any sense. So everything screams to me that the people who do it are not good game designers, and that's all there really is to it. Still cool game, cool models, and that kind of is what keeps it going. Stormguard Ascended. Posting before 40k this time and was wondering what to get for my next army. I already have 2,000 points of Space Marines of my own chapter. And I'm trying to think of what to get. I was thinking of Tau, Tyranids, or Necrons, as I know you have 2 of these armies and was searching for some advice. My advice is always the same. Get the one that you want. This is a hobby. It's meant to be fun. So you should see an army and you should be like, ooh, I want that one. And that's the one you should go for. I like Necrons now, but I'm not sure how they'll be when they get updated. I don't suddenly want an army that is good, but be as it may OP in some cases or most, and then it to be nerfed. Thanks in advance and happy wargaming. It's like a roll of die. What'll happen to your army? Some of them roll, whoop, yay, 4+, they're better now. And some of them you roll and it's like, oh, I rolled a 2. So this is going to take some hits. So you can't really plan for that. I have no idea what they'll screw up or what they'll get right. So just pick one that you love and go with that. Astroman 1980, hey Matt, just wondering where do I find or how do I make the black dice tray I see in many videos? are you planning on doing any unboxings? How do we make that? I don't actually know. I think Colonel Craig gave it to us. I think it's just a piece of wood with 1x1s around it, but it has like some sort of felt surface and then all black. And that's all it really is. Are you planning on doing any unboxings for the new X-Wing expansions that are soon coming out, the Imperial Aces and the big ships when they are released? We'll see. Not planning, nor am I not planning. Soul Armor, greetings and salutations, Matthias. I am wondering what your thoughts are on Games Workshop having their shares drop by 24%, and what impact this may have on how they do business in coming years. Also, sort of on the same train of thought, would you be in support of Hasbro Mattel owning Games Workshop? I'm not saying this is going to happen because of one bad year, but just wondering your thoughts. I'm not a financial expert, so it's hard to say. Stocks are going to go up and down. I know this is a serious drop, and I also know that their half-year financials look pretty bad. It's hard to say if that's the start of something bad or if it's just a dip and then they'll go back up. But Games Workshop sales have kind of been struggling for quite a while now. They've only managed to make everything look good by doing two things. One, cutting costs, and two, raising prices. But if you actually watch their financial reports over the past few years, they have been losing tons and tons of customers. Because if you think about it, if your old revenue was here, and then over the course of a few years you literally have almost doubled your prices, and then your new revenue is here, and you go, yay! And your old expenses were here, and now they're down here, and so your shareholders are like, yay, look at all the profit we have. But it's like, wait a second, that's half the number of customers. Because if you sell 100 units at $1 and make $100, and then you sell 50 units at $2 to make the $100, you'll make more profit selling those 50, but you'll have half as many customers. And while it's good to raise your profit margins, losing that many customers tells you something's wrong, something is happening. So they've been losing customers, just tons of customers over the past few years, and so their revenue actually going down after all of that is not a good sign. My predictions are you're going to see them fade over the next 10 to 15 years, because a big business like that, it doesn't happen within a year. You're going to see them fade. You're going to notice it in the next 5 years. This is my prediction. I could be totally wrong, but this is my prediction from what I've been observing for the past few years. You're going to see them fade as real competition is starting to tear chunks out of their profits and out of their customer base and actually set up new customer base. Warmachine is big enough now that they can't be ignored. Then there's so many smaller games now that combined, they're really starting to take a chunk out of the market. And of course the market can continue to grow, but not at the rate that all of these people are taking stuff from Games Workshop. And so you're going to see them lose a lot of market share over the next few years because of the decisions that they've been making. It's going to finally come back and hit them. And although it has already been doing so, it's just going to be very noticeable. But by that point, the CEO will have a chance to get out because he's pretty much at retirement age right now. So maybe that's the plan. As for Hasbro Mattel, I don't care who owns Games Workshop, as long as they have good business policies. Paradox, I hate to be irritating, but can you please tell us if you will ever release a second wave of Dark Potential or even start playing it again? It's been a long time since it's ever been mentioned on the site, unless I'm being stupid and I missed it when you have mentioned it. My answer to that is I hope so. We are not currently working on the miniatures game. I can tell you that there will probably be something happening with Dark Potential this year, most likely. But yeah, I can't tell you much more than that. Trust me, it's something we want to work on, but we've got to make sure everything else is stable. Everything else is running well. So that's it. That's all the questions. Thank you very much for your questions and comments. Of course, if you want yours answered, go ahead and leave them below. And stay tuned for next week's Sit and Talk. This is Matthew from Mini Wargaming. Happy Wargaming.